In this video, I'm going to explain the exact methods, techniques, SOPs, and everything that we use to make $63 million in just under 3 years. This is me talking at an event with a bunch of 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs at Russell Brunson's mastermind that was held about a month ago. So if you like this video, let me know. It's very in-depth, it's quite long, so make sure you take notes. We'll try and timestamp a bunch of it, and we will have some resources that you can ask for in the comments. So if you look at any of the resources and you want them, let us know. We can go ahead and send you some of those things in doc form, and you can go ahead and start applying them to your business. But warning, this is in-depth, in detail, exactly how I took 2 businesses from zero, $64 million in actual made money in about 3 years. So hope you guys enjoy it. Bye. All right, guys. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Matt. So I am the CEO of the 7th Level Group. This is going to be a slightly different presentation. It'll be going over a few things, and we'll go over our 10X plan. But what I wanted to do is we're a slightly more just complicated business, which is probably going to get torn to pieces, but that's all right. And so I wanted to give all the appropriate context so that we didn't sort of go, try this. And it's like, did it? Try this? You know what I mean? So because we sort of try a little things. So yeah, so I'll go through that. I'll give you a quick history of kind of what we're doing. And then from there, we can go from there. I didn't create any slides. It's a Google Doc, and I'm going to roll through it, right? 7th Level Group, we started off in just about January 2020. Revenue to date is about $64 million to date. We won the 2CCX in 2021. We skipped the 2 comma, went to the 2CCX. Then last year, we got the 25, and then we just got approved for the million, for the 50 million. So there you go. Thank you, Russell. Okay, so what do? So the mission of the group of 7th Level is to change the way that sales is perceived in the marketplace. So raise your hand if when you're in school, you're like, what do you want to do? And you're like, I want to be in sales. Like you got pelted by tomatoes and all that kind of good stuff. So our job is to change that and make NEPQ the way that sales is done. So NEPQ is our sales methodology that was created by Jeremy over his 20-odd year sales career, where he made like 33 million straight commissions in a bunch of different industries. So it's a really quality methodology, and it's one of the things that really sets us apart, but I'll go into that later. In terms of the actual business unit, so the first one is we have 7th Level sales coaching, sort of going through a little maybe potential rebrand at the moment. Overall numbers, we do about 500 to 700 new coaching clients per month. That's not product, that's coaching, right? From 3,000 to 18,000. So it's a little bit of a monster in terms of its fulfillment and delivery. Last 30 days, we've had 4,481 new customers. So that's people who have purchased something from us, like unique buyers. We have 5 sort of core offers that ascend. Right, we have a Black Book bundle, which is like our self-liquidating offer, which is like our cold traffic thing, right? We have a MIFKI. Yeah. Thanks, buddy. We launched that when? January. About 15,000 people have bought it so far. Wow. Right? And then we go into our services category, which is 2.0, 3.0 inner circle. So it's basically an ascendancy based on skill set, right? It's an education-based ascendancy, nothing else. So one builds on the other. You're not allowed to go straight to the end. We just don't allow it. Similar to, you can't just join Atlas, right? We do anywhere from 4 to 800, 5, whatever. We do a fair few people. And if we run a challenge, we'll get a sort of big influx of people as well into a challenge bundle of 2.0. 2.0 is an easy product for us to deliver. We charge $2,493 on average, right? And it's a very easy product for us to deliver.
Virtual training course, it's like a 15-hour course in itself, $25. It's not really coaching. That's
yeah.
Course.
Yeah. Then from there we have challenges. We sell a bundle, right? We had last one we did was last month we had 16,000 registrations. That was great. We had a 26% show up rate, 80% retention day to day, and a 24% close rate of everyone that was on the pitch day. Thanks to Miner. I mean, I couldn't do that, but he melts faces with the best of them. And then from there we have a repitch, and then we have a buyer's day. So we split all the buyers split all the non-buyers here. Jeremy melts the buyers into more things, and I yell at the other guys until they give us money. Right? It's not far off that, to be honest. I'm more of the hard closer. And then we have NEPQ Red. Okay, Red is a female-specific division, so we've sort of hired a female influencer to be like the face of that. And then from there, we sort of tap into a different market that Jeremy's face, Marco's face, or my face maybe wouldn't resonate with as well. So that's a relatively new venture. It's been about 6 to 7 months, but it's going quite well. We have B2B offers ranging from 40,000 to whatever. I sold a 380,000 one yesterday, so that was fun. To those, anyway, I won't say who. Right, and then we have, and I'll go through quickly and kind of show you, I guess, this is our I'll just reel through quickly. This is our branding, right, for 7th level. So it's purple. We've always been purple, okay? And the black is sort of representing like the old school style of sales. So we're kind of trying to shine through. And there's our mission and vision, all that kind of good stuff. I won't bore you guys too much with that. Marco worked very hard on it, and it's amazing. And I will sort of show you this because this will give you some relevancy in a couple of minutes, right? So NEPQ is our sales methodology, right? And each one of these colors represents a different niche that we want to go into. So purple is our institute, which is our more generic, right? And then we've got the red, which is NEPQ red, which is our female division. Then we've got yellow, okay, which is our insurance division. Then we've got blue, which is our soon-to-be hopefully solar division, right? So, but I'll go through a bit more of that in detail later. Again, I wanted to give you guys as much context as humanly possible, and I'm a fairly detail-oriented human being, unfortunately. So you guys will sit there and take it. All right. So the other things that we have, okay, so we're going through the business stack is Sniper Media. So we have a full stack kind of done for you marketing agency, super boutique and small and very expensive, and it makes sense why we have it. In a minute, I will assure you, because it wasn't just like a random thing, let's go start a marketing company. The way that we facilitated that was by buying a marketing company, right? We did that for a few reasons. One of those is because of the next one, which is Scope, which is sort of formerly known as Sales Sniper. We have it's called Scope, which is sort of formerly known as Sales Sniper, which is a done-for-you sales agency, right? So we would get coaches, consultants, all that kind of stuff, and we'd bring them in, and then we would become their entire sales organization. So we would redo the processes, we would do all the scripting, we provided our own reps. One of the beautiful things was, because we have 7th level, we sign up a few reps, so then we took the best ones into Sales Sniper. We had 150 of probably the world's most savage sales team we've ever seen. And we did that for lots and lots and lots of coaches, which was fun, and that's why we necessitated having our own marketing company, because we were just sick of having to deal with like all kinds of stuff. And so what we did is we went out there, purchased a marketing company, and then sort of took that in-house and then became like a one-stop acquisition company. That's sort of when it got rebranded to Scope. So we come in and we do the whole thing. It's not big, as in like lots of clients, but as you can imagine, the clients we do have pay an awful lot of money.
They pay percent of sales?
Yeah. So we're almost entirely commission-based, which is why it's a very risky model. But one of the cool things was that, at one stage we were problem solving I think 57 different sales teams at once, of which predominantly was me to start off with it as we grew it. And so I learned a lot about how to problem solve sales teams and how to connect sales and marketing in a very positive way, whereas usually they're quite repellent. And so how do we have a sales and marketing team talk together and then have the data and have the respect for each other to where it's like, hey, I believe that you're good at marketing, you believe that I'm good at sales. Let's have a collaborative conversation about how we can get more buyers.
It's not ideal you're doing the marketing and the sales.
For not all, but most. There's some that have really, really good marketing. It's not common, but it's rare. But because we require a lot of marketing asset at 7th level, because of the amount of volume that we do, it sort of helped us to get more talent. We could monetize, we could pay them more because we can pay them for over here as well. So media runs at a break even on purpose. It doesn't need to make any money. It's just sitting there to serve as a function. Does that make sense?
Coaching businesses, we put in 3 or 4 guys, and then their influencer would tank leads. And now we got 3 or 4 guys, we have a system over here, so we'll just come in and do the marketing for you to make sure to get leads for us.
Yeah.
Also, business strategy for that one specifically is this side break even, just to bring the max quality of leads to be done for yourselves, but also internally for us. So
what percentage do you guys charge on that one?
It's ranging because the business model is very dependent. It's been as low as 20, as high as 30, but it's very, very business model dependent. We did stuff for living cleaning groups. It's very different. It's $450 million a year company doing school, getting them into schools, right? We did stuff with a very large Fintech. They do $9 billion, right? That was a very different deal, right? Than doing Joe Coach, right? Those Joe Coach deals are actually probably more lucrative in the long run because the relationship is longer, because there comes a time, like you're saying before, agencies don't care, and that's pretty true, to be honest, for the most part. However, agencies for under 15 million, I think a year, kind of work pretty well to fill a gap sometimes. So what I would do is I would pre-frame that at 15 to 20 million a year, this is going to collapse. So let me build your team for you, right? And so I would create a transitional period, and then we would recruit using 7th level, and we get people in, we establish the thing, and then what we do is we do spot checks and secret shopping, and we send them reports and stuff like that to make sure that their sales team is being held. And then sometimes we stay on as like a fractional manager. And then we have 7th level LFG, which is our insurance agency, which is underneath Quility. But I'll kind of go through that more because it's like our first test of our like go-to-market strategies for our 10X plan. So there are tons of good marketers here, right? Of which I am not one. So I'm a fairly decent sales guy, but I'm not as good as Jeremy. I understand marketing nowhere near as much as you guys do. But what I can do is run a business to within an inch of its life. Like, I'm very good at that. So I wanted to go through some of that stuff today because I feel like that's probably the only value that I can give you guys. And then from there, cruise through that because most of it's really boring. But if you want any of the things that I have, I'll give them to you, right? There's all kinds of stuff. So has anyone ever heard of an OODA loop? Yeah. Right, so OODA loop is a decision-making process. It's very, very military it's very military, right? I don't know if I was in the military. I don't know if I ever told you guys, right? right? Observe, orient, decide, and act, right? So it's kind of the way that like my brain works, right? And it's a little bit like it's a slower way of making decisions, which I think helps when someone's in like a leadership position, right? So myself, Marco, and Jeremy are all business partners, right? I'm kind of the sea anchor that hopefully stops us from doing too many things at once. I've failed and I've succeeded in certain times in those areas. However, like I'm like the calm force, if that makes sense, because Jeremy's very creative, Marco's very creative, and I'm not super creative. However, I am very like good at problem solving. Now, I really wanted to get good at this whole kind of business running thing, so I just hired the CEO of Smirnoff. Happened to meet him, very circumstantial. I just happened to meet him and said, how much money do I have to give you to teach me how to run a company like $1 billion CEO? And he said a lot, and I said, okay. So he was also the CMO of Allied Domecq, which is an enormous alcohol conglomerate, and he was also the CMO of Yamaha. And so over the past 2 years, about 24 months, I think, yeah, he's been coaching me on execution, strategy, development, and how to be a CEO. So if you guys want, I have this document. It's a little bit boring, but it literally outlays. This is like the in case I die document. Wow. Right? This is in case I die. My executive team has this. This is every single process, thought. This is every meeting agenda. This is everything that like you would need to do to replicate what I do, right? So of which Marco would do a phenomenal job. He could step up tomorrow, right? So constructive feedback meetings from the corporate strategy, like I'll show you sort of, I don't know, corporate strategy. That's our corporate strategy. I can go over a little bit. Anyway, it's a big document, right? From the rollout of that presentation is to not get people who are doers thinking too much about not doing and thinking, right? As to then forecasting and budgeting, creating that into an MI&D, so most important number drivers, and then going into the project management, into the weekly and monthly meetings, how I work with my EA. This is an example of what my diary looks like in my deep focus sessions with everything's hyperlinked, good to go. So I don't speak to anybody. I speak to Marco, that's basically it, right? And then from there, I run the business from like with an iron fist from a room that nobody knows, right? So those are all hyperlinks for every day. Every single task that I have, whether it be email or Slack, I don't look at email, I don't look at Slack, like ever. My EA does all of that. And then from there, any task I have to do goes straight into my deep focus sessions, of which I have one 90-minute block every single day. If there needs to be more, there's more. But generally speaking, that's how I read all the contracts. That's how I read all the things, do all the hiring, do all the firing. I do everything like that. And that way I can be across everything all at once without having to spend tons of times on meetings, because I fucking hate meetings. There's a really good app called Meeting Calculator. Hook up your G Drive to it, put everyone's salaries in it. It'll tell you how much a meeting costs, and you'll probably have to stop having those meetings. Especially when a meeting costs you like $47,000 because it's got everybody on it for 3 hours, right? So anyway, this is kind of like the process. So observe is look forward. So we do a planning session. So we do like an annual planning session. We're probably going to start doing them more frequently. We did them too frequently, then we didn't do them frequently enough. So I think that we'll try and find the middle ground as to once every 6 months, right? And then from the planning session, we do the budget and the forecasts, right? From the budget and forecasts, those then get sent out to the department heads. The department heads then have to go, okay, tell me, what do you need to do in order to hit those numbers, right? And that's got to be a collaborative. I don't need to be there. I don't really care, to be honest, right? Like that's their job to figure out, and they can bring me, Marco will bring me back the plan, right? I'll say yes, I'll say no, whatever, and then from there things happen. Then from there the MI&D is created, right? An example of an MI&D is this. So this would be an MI&D like for outbound for a specific funnel. This is not like ubiquitous, but right, like from there, assuming we have a 30% pass-through rate, like we know what we need at the end, right? So, and then we know all of our historic data because we're pretty good at tracking data because we're all kind of a little bit nerdy in that way. And so then from there we would create, this is the opt-in specialist, right? And then we have a different one for Typeform, a different one for SLO, right? So then from there it's going to result in 8 8 bookings a day, right, per person. And in order to get 8 bookings a day, they got to have 25 conversations, 5% pickup rate, $500. So the KPI is $500 a day for each SDR. If they can't do that, they'll be fired, right? And then everything starts from the number. So it's like, we're going to make $1 million a month, whatever it is. And then it's like, how much of that will be from this? Then from there, that gets worked backwards, right? Down to the cleaning lady coming 3 times a week, right? Because as soon as the sales metric stops, then the marketing metric begins, right? And I'll show you sales metrics and how we track that as well. Then from there, it's KPIs, right? Hyros and sales data. Hyros has been a huge game changer for us. We highly recommend it. It's very, very good. KPIs are super important because without KPIs, how do we hold each other accountable? If we can't hold each other accountable, what are we doing here? And this is an example of like sales data, right? This is sales data from like part of one business. This is the last 5 days. 347 booked calls, 38% close rate, that much, right? And we segment it by person. You know, you can turn people on, turn people off. One thing I will say about data that's really important is my philosophy is try and find reasons to not make changes because I think people act too quick, you know? So like they'll see sales data, the close rate will drop and then they'll be like, I made changes. Like, well, it's just time out. Let's let it go. Let's see if it's a person. What if it's one person? Like we had it once where our lead costs, like our cost per call significantly increased. And it was like, and I was like, stop. Let's just try and figure out if it's something stupid. Sure enough, the sales rep that takes the largest volume of calls went on holiday, turned off his calendar, didn't tell us. We fill every single spot, every single day, every single week to the max, right? We need 500 hours of sales calls every single week. I know that, like it has to be there, right? So he was a significant chunk of it because he's a crazy person, does like 12 hours a day, right? But he makes like 80K a month, so good for him, right? And so that was a huge chunk. So we didn't adjust the ad spend base for that. But we had very successful campaigns, right? So had we have not stopped and looked and gone like, hey guys, like let's just figure this out and gone, he's on holiday. Like that means that like let's now have a look and see how many people are going onto the page and then bouncing off. Oh, okay, they're just not finding times. Okay, well let's reduce the ad spend, yell at him, right? Of which we had a very fun phone call. By the way, I never yell at people. I am very stern when I talk, but I don't yell, right? I find it much scarier.
Cute.
I'm a very nice guy. Everyone calls me very intimidating. I don't know why. Okay, so then from
Because otherwise at the end, someone why you guys don't extend the calendar? So we tested the calendar of 1 day open, 2 day open, 3 day open, 4 day open, 5 day open, right? And our short rates goes, the calendar is open for 5 days, 40%, 45, 47.5, 51, and 61. So at 2 days, we need to have the calendar open 2 days, it's going to give us 61%. So it's like, that's why, for example, the guy was fucking just
Too many
ran.
people either
Yeah. Also-
5, 6 days, and everybody thinks 5 days, and nobody remembers. It's like getting a doctor's appointment 2 weeks.
So
you
if
just
they,
forget.
so if the equation doesn't match and we don't have time in the calendar, then they can't see anything. And we were like, what the fuck, we got $380 cost per call.
Yeah. So also there's like one thing I'll say about sales data is that like a show up rate and a no show rate are 2 different things, right? So like if you have people showing up, okay, that's your show up rate. So then you got to categorize people who don't show up. Otherwise, like you don't know what you're dealing with. So we have no shows, which is people who are like don't respond and don't show up, right? That's a no show. We have a reschedule, which is obviously a reschedule, right? And then we have a cancellation, which is a cancellation. So like my team, for example, like we're sort of mentoring some like younger sales managers at the moment, and they're like, we have a no-show issue. And I was like, do we? Okay, let's all freak out about it. But I was like, do we have a no-show or a show-up issue? And they were like, okay, cool. And then we figured out we didn't have anything. We just had a rescheduling issue. So then we're like, okay, we went, when are the people rescheduling? I was like, okay, let's have a look at the data. They're rescheduling 3 hours prior. That's the average reschedule rate because you can tell because there's a link in there from Schedule Once or Once Hub. It's like, okay, like reschedule here. So it's like first test, take that out, see what happens. So that's the only thing we had to do. It turns out that pretty much like half the reschedules, right? Just because we gave them the option. Then from there, we moved it back 1 hour, 4 hours with no link, perfect, done, right? So like, that's like, data is so good. And like marketing data, like all the marketing nerds geek out on marketing data, but like sales data is just as like interesting and profound. It's just a slightly slower process because you're looking at iterations, right? So like with marketing and this is why like I constantly tell our like executive team that everyone has to work at a different speed. And there's like a flywheel effect. So like marketing works like this. It's really, really fast, right? Because they're working on like 5,000 iterations, takes 10 minutes. Like imagine how many it takes to get 5,000 people to your challenge funnel. It's like 17 seconds, done, right? So it's like those people can make adjustments fast because they have a high level of iteration. Sales is a bit slower because they have to go further down the pipeline. So then you're locking people out. And then operations is slower again, right? But they're moving at the same speed, but it's a different perception of speed because every one step taken by operations is like 10 taken by marketing. That's kind of how I look at it. So then from there, once we have all that, then like once you have KPIs, then you have basically all your resource planning. Because now you know how many people you need to hire, especially if you do it 12 months out. If like we're doing this and that MI&D is for the end result, then we can whack it down per month and we're like, hey, well at that result, we need 17 SDRs. All right, cool, how many do we have? 5, sweet, so we gotta hire 12 over the next 12 months. What's our average stick rate for SDRs? 33%, that's a pretty good, right? So it's like, okay, so we gotta hire 36, sweet. It's hire 36, right? Obviously over time, otherwise that would be annoying. So then from there, that constitutes the projects. The projects are called WIPs, so work in progress reports. And those are the meetings that I have every single week with the guys, which is like a Gantt chart essentially of for me, mine is a Gantt chart of just project names. I don't care what tasks have to be done. That's for them to worry about. But they need to have a similar looking chart, which is done in ClickUp, right? For their WIP, so we can see every task. And that means that I can monitor and I can assess all of my executives and see if they're just being a pass-through for the tasks that I give them, because if they are, they'll be fired. Like if I give you 10 projects and it's like 50 tasks and every 50 task is laid out to other people and there's no more projects, you're not innovating, like why are you here? Like, I don't need you. Bye. I'll just manage those people myself. It's easy. Right? I'll save myself 20 grand a month or whatever. So like that WIPs, putting that in was probably the most profound change that my mentor for the CEO of Smirnoff, his name's Kim. So I'll just refer to him as Kim, right? That was probably the most profound thing because I fired almost my entire executive team within 90 days. Like,
that's the daily report?
No. It's weekly. And if they don't come prepared, they're in a little bit of trouble. Like I'll just end the Zoom and say, I'll see you tomorrow, right? And if they go, I'm busy tomorrow, not anymore, right? Hey, fuck me around, see what happens. All right, so, and again, this isn't being mean, this is just being like pragmatic because like, I just don't want to waste anyone's time. I don't want my time wasted. I got kids, like everyone else can go to hell except for my kids. I'd kill you all with a spoon if my kids were unhappy. All right, so, and then that's when it gives us our resource planning. Then from there, that gets our resource planning, so which then helps us with our budgeting and forecasting. We run a 5+7, 6+6, so like every single month we compare and contrast like the actuals and the forecasts. And our CFO is the CFO of Billboard Magazine, which is a much larger company than us. I waited until about 25 million a year before we got a CFO because I just didn't really feel like it was necessary because I did a fair few like finance courses like Harvard Online Business School has great ones, and I felt competent enough to hold a conversation with the accountants to where I knew I wasn't getting screwed over. Until that changed, then I got a CFO. As soon as we started international like multi-tax treaty stuff, I was like, oh, guys, I'm out. Like, I'm no longer like, I'm like, in the conversation. And like, when you do that with accountants, like, that's when things get really squirrely. So I got someone who was older, much more experienced, probably more expensive than what I wanted, but had like, this was a pitty little company compared to what he's done, right? So that kind of felt like the move. And then from there, like, that creates your meeting structures, your ways of work, documentation, compliance stuff. One of the best things that I think might help people is an after action review. So after any DA raid, whenever you go in and, do bad guy things, right? The first thing you do whenever you get back is an after action review. So every single person sits down immediately and just brain dumps, right? I have the document. I'll send it out to you. This is the one for the challenge that we had in April, right? And so we send out an immediate, like literally the day the challenge ends, our VP of Ops sends out an immediate after action review for all the key stakeholders. Then from there, they go in, they think about it, they talk with their team, they send it back, and then like a week later, we're all on a meeting. It's a big all hands meeting, going over like and talking in detail about what went well, what didn't. This is why every single challenge, we've done 8 challenges now, every single one has been significantly better than the last. Like we've had better show up rates every single time, we've had more money every single time, we've had better ROAS nearly every single time. So it's just like, it's a precision way of doing it that's really necessary because like people forget shit, like they just do. So, here's all the key things. Like me and Jeremy were event hosts and we just go down successes, things that went okay, things that went really badly, things we should change, right? I can send out a blank version of that document if you guys want. But the important thing with that is like we did really cool things ad hoc that then became like edified as the way that we do it. Like I have a sound machine, right? The first challenge we ever did, I had like the wop wow and like wow, right? And I just started like playing with it because I was like, Jeremy's just spitting fire. I was like, like that. People loved it and it kept the engagement going. And when he was like, what would the old closer say? Womp, womp, womp. Right? And so we were like, man, that works so well to keep everybody engaged. So that became, and then we put in the script, it's a 194-page script, right? Matt does negative sound horn here. Matt does DJ sound horn here, right? So, right? I love sound machines, they're fucking cool. Anyway, right? So like that's, and we do wild stuff because like, on our, not this challenge, but the previous one before, the ops team didn't upgrade the Zoom. Like, you know what I mean? So we had like only 3,000 registrants or something like that could get in, but we had like 11,000 people trying. It was a whole thing, right? But that was an enormous screw up that probably cost us $800,000 or $900,000. But it meant that Marco had to scramble to get people there for day 2. We still did day 1, but it was like an hour late. Imagine starting your first day of a challenge, a 5-day challenge, an hour late. Yeah, we still had a lot of people. Yeah. Right? It was wild. And our account manager on Zoom was on holiday. Okay, so it was the whole thing. But honestly, it actually worked out great because like whenever you do like an enormous screw up and you have to like scramble, you usually figure something out that you never would have. And we've basically done a nice big fat screw up on every single challenge, right? Except for this last one, right? You know, like because it's a new thing. Like you've done something 6 times, like you basically never done it. So like that's how we learn, because we do that and then we create processes, and then now we do like 2 full dress rehearsals for our challenge because like we just don't want to screw it up, right? And this is kind of a guiding principle that I've always had, right? So it's called like the law of subtension, okay? So like I was a sniper, and so like there's some very, very specific like rules that you have to follow, and like because accuracy becomes very important, and it's about like minimizing variables. Like that's what being a good sniper is all about. So like if this is why like when I teach salespeople to sell, they're like, oh, tweak my script. I was like, why don't you just know? Right? Because like you're the variable right now, right? So basically like if I can create myself as like the constant, then I can adjust for the variables around me. Because if I'm looking to go like 10x, or if I'm looking to go like, if I'm looking to shoot a target at 1,000 yards, right? If I am 1 minute of angle off, right? 1 minute of angle, which is it's about a millimeter, right? That's only gonna miss by 1 centimeter at 100 meters. So if I'm shooting right here, it's gonna hit here, right? That's at 100 yards, right? At 1,000 yards, it's a 1 meter. It's a full 1 yard off, that exact same shot. So like, I'm always thinking like the law of subtension, like, you know, you start off at the wrong angle and you end up in China instead of Tibet or whatever, right? So what's working, right? Challenges. Challenges have been working really, really well. Jeremy melts like 24% of all the people that have done day 3 and sort of beyond, which is pretty good from what I've been told, right? It's
If you're in a challenge, you push people with phones, or in a challenge, you're selling right off the
sell them on the webinar, on the thing.
What price
Yeah.
point?
Yeah. So,
That's awesome.
yeah. Yeah.
We did calculate that one, right? We got a chart with a willingness to pay. So we did ask our consumers how much they were willing to pay for the training, and we position it. It was like I got a demand and a supply curve, and I really calculated the base of like the trend of times. So it can be 2,593, but if the market goes down, I will place it at 1,197. So I will see exactly how many people will buy, so I can forecast. I can show you how.
Yeah. So we've done 8. We have a consistent 4.5 times ROAS off the front end. So it's not including back end sales. It's just front end stuff, right? We've got a really highly skilled team. We have a lot of like ex special operators, right? Because they like vibe with me, and we also have like a lot of ex gangbangers as well. Because like I can keep them in line, and like they like my kind of authoritative slappy kind of style. So like, dude, you know, yeah, like me and gang, like anyway, like they turn their lives around. They're great people. They made a mistake. Who hasn't, right? And so they come in and they crush it because like I'm just good at handling those people.
We give them work ethic, then we teach them the right skills.
Yeah.
They're pretty much savages and that. And then once we sell those people on those webinars over the next 90 days, we have a huge upsell tick rate that we go sell our 8 grand product and our 15,000. Then we might get a referral to their company, and now we're training 400 of their salespeople on a B2B.
Yeah, we
so
understood
it's like a
the-
similar model.
Like we
Let's
understood
try to
the
get in
catalyst.
as many as we can get in, then
Yeah. So recruitment of reps has been good, obviously. I mean, like, yep. There's so many of them, right? You know what I mean? There's so many in our ecosystem at this point that like we just find good ones, you know. And we have a 40% close rate. We've had that, like that's our consistent long term. Everyone who shows up to a sales call, 40%, right? I think like expecting more than that is probably unreasonable. But that's good.
What price point for that 40?
Anywhere from 3 to 18. Marketing. So acquiring marketing company really helped us speed things up.
How big was the company?
It was small. We didn't even have to like give them money. We just like they had a good media buying team and like some good processes, but not like nothing else. So what we did is we brought them in under and gave them like a kind of weird like guaranteed floor, right? So it's like it was like, hey, like you like no more clients come in, guaranteed floor. So we come in like guaranteed floor, and then from there, like we'll have like a pricing, like an internal pricing structure for like additional products and services. So they came in. and they're only for us, and then we do all their like, you know, finance and accounting, all that kind of stuff, but they're like kind of internal, external, but they're in, all right? And they can't work with anybody else. And so like that's been a really good process for us because it just kind of sped it up. And because we're spending, you know, on challenge months a fair bit on ad spend now, you know, like it just helped us kind of grow a little bit faster, right? In terms of forecast, we've hit our forecast for 23 months in a row. We're pretty good at recruiting talent, lots of content. Like Jeremy got 700,000 views last month on his YouTube channel, but to be honest, we've half-assed it.
We haven't even done good on YouTube.
Yeah,
We
so.
for Facebook and still working on IG. We haven't done anything on YouTube yet. Like I said, if it was me and Matt wasn't here, we'd be like, do this, do that. So I'm like you. I'm like, throw money here. I got money, throw it here, throw money here. He said, no, we're going to just start here. And we'll get that good.
Yeah.
We'll do here. And now we're back.
Yeah, so what I did is I'm like kind of good at doing this, so I convinced a content company to come under us, right? So they have like 9 editors. They have a really good kind of like visionary dude who kind of like sees the algorithm in the matrix, and he's like 19 and he's only ever been on TikTok his whole life, you know what I mean? So I kind of like convinced them to like come and be in 7th level, right? So then we just absorbed all of their stuff, right? Again, for a guaranteed floor, because those people, they're going like this. I was like, come to safety, my friend, daddy will help. Okay, so that.
You acquired them or what?
Yeah, it's like yes and no. It's like an acquiring, but it's more like a gifting, right? A very persuasive man, Neo. What's up, brother? By the way, it's been a long time. Man. Our podcast does really well. 150,000 unique downloads a month.
Model like social podcasts. You pushing to applications or pushing to or just rotates with whatever they offers, or what's the
Bro, so that's one thing we haven't done well. So now, for the first time, the marketing calendar and the content calendar are synced. Because the marketing calendar goes out 12 months. So every offer, I don't want to get like too deep into that, but like, because it just end up being like a 4-hour conversation about that. But like, yeah, so now they're synced. Now we know like release dates, or like all that kind of stuff in the content. Before, it's just been Jeremy melting faces, spitting hot fire, pure content value, no CTAs, no nothing, right? And it was,
you're just booking that many sales calls a day or a week, whatever. Like, where's that coming from?
oh man, it's a combination. I'll just give a high level overview. So we have a VSL running that goes really well. We have an SLO, and then we have an implementation call process. So they buy like a low end product, and then from there they get into like this like free coaching call thing, and then from there those guys get them into calls. Then from there we also have like YouTube. That's very hard though unless you have a very disciplined and quality sales team. I would not recommend the implementation call model unless you really get sales, right? It's very, very difficult. I've seen people try and pull it off before, like it didn't work. So, and then from there we also have email. Marco is really good at email. We have YouTube. We have organic because we have a pretty big. We have like 3 Facebook groups now. Yeah, so 3 Facebook groups, kind of different niches. And then we have the Mifki, which is upselling people on the portal and getting them into book calls. And then we have it's like 10. There's a lot of different ways to get them.
We map out really well the path of the customers and how long does it take us to our customers to become aware of Jeremy, aware of the product, and aware of like ready to buy. So we kind of gauge them on arrows on like how much we got forecast to close based on what we have, and then we send them to different things. Complicated, but it works so far. Like our ad spend is like not big at all. Because he's been good at saying like, let's not spend money.
I'm pretty cheap. Cheap. All right, cool. So there's that. Podcast does really well. Jeremy's just a phenomenal trainer, to be honest. Like, it's just quality content that's out there just helping people. And like, my thing that I told like the content department and what I've always told is like, as long as if somebody hears Jeremy's name or sees him and gets better at sales for free, I think that should be like the underlying methodology of content. Like, if you know who Jeremy is, even if you never buy from us, like you should get better at sales. And so like our Facebook group is designed that way. Everything's designed that way, right? Okay. So then from ads, we've always had a healthy ROAS. Okay. Operations, we're pretty well machine. From a finance perspective, like I feel like we're a pretty strong company. We have always maintained a healthy profitability, like even while growing. So, you know, from year 1 to year 2, we grew 491%. From year 2 to year 3, it's 210%. Probably grow like 160, 165% from year 3 to year 4. So like this year, and we've maintained a 64% GP and a 21% net operating profit, which is after tax, on 64 million. And I think the reason why is because like of all those like operational things that I talked about, it means like we don't need as much staff. And also like our product works, we have a 0.4% dispute rate, which I'm very proud of. That's very, very good for the industry. I don't know anyone else's dispute rate because like no one's going to tell me, but I think it's good, right? At least Stripe is not angry at me, and I've spoken to their reps.
That's refund rate or chargeback? That's refund rate.
No, it's dispute rate.
Dispute. Chargeback?
Yeah, so yeah, chargebacks. Yeah, chargebacks. Our dispute rate is like our refund rate in totality, but that's including like the MIFKI and everything, is like 1.8, right? Maybe 2, something like that. But I think like, dude, most of that's the SLO. You know what I mean? Like our Black Book bundle, just because like people get it, download it, refund it. Like we can watch them do
I
it.
think we nailed it out. That would be
Yeah, we'll try that. That's so cool thing that we learned today. We have a methodology that works, right? NEPQ like is a very, very solid methodology. As of present, we train about 158 different industries. So we are like the only sales coaching organization that really isn't pigeonholed to a particular market. I would say Cardone's probably there as well. But like, you know,
cars.
yeah, but he's very, very heavily into cars. So like, you know, like if we go into our like scripting drive, and this is just the one that clients can see, these are like the different industries of scripts that we have, right? And then like if you want to go like a little bit deeper than that, if you want to go like just insurance, those are just the different types of insurance that we have scripts for. So those are active clients that we're teaching right now.
Yeah, and it's crazy because out of the 158 industries you trained in the last 12 months, life insurance somehow became the #1 industry for any.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. It just became that way.
Yeah.
I never sold life insurance in my life. I've been
Yeah.
dominating that space.
Yeah. So that's like kind of like the background and the ethos and methodology. This is like a couple like random things that help from a financial standpoint. There's a business called Airwallex, right? It's an online bank, but it's heavily insured. And like if anybody trades in multi-currency, it's very good. Like it saved me $20,000 a month on Forex averaged over the last 2 years. So about, what's that, $480,000 on Forex fees away from traditional banks. Also, they have virtual cards. So I have a card for every single subscription, right? Sorry, Russell, there's one card, right? So that means that like, cause like what happens, you have everything on an Amex and then you lose the Amex and then you got to cancel every single subscription, restart. So we have 88 subscriptions right now. Every single one has an independent card, right? So that mitigates our risk and it's very easy to set up. Airwallex actually told us to do it. I never would have thought of it on my own. Also, if you pay international contractors, it's very easy, very quick, right? It's a very, very good product. It's quite safe. I wouldn't hold like my treasury in there, right? But I hold a fair bit of my OpEx, right? So quick in and out cash, like that's where I hold. So Stripe goes in there, right? Straight away, because we also get multi-currency in Stripe. So it's cheaper if I send it into there. And then from there, I can internally convert it basically a spot rate and then go through. That makes sense to people who it needs to make sense to, okay? So if you want to, like, I can talk to you more about it. Okay, cool. There's yes, Profit First Accounting. Anybody read that book? Greatest accounting book ever made. It literally saved me from 2 horrible accountants. It's a cash management system, which saved my life a few times. I follow it to the T. We're going away from it for the first time now. So no bank account in the US is insured for more than $250,000. That's a bank account. Like, it's not an individual one. That's like the account, right? So we use a system called Mercury, which we put our profit in, and that's like our largest holdings. And then from there, we skim it across all the different accounts. So there's no more than $250,000 in any one account at any one time, right? It's a really good, very safe, very well-known thing. It's called Mercury. It works quite well if you guys want to do that. Again, that was not me. That was our CFO because he's used to dealing with billions of dollars, and we're like piddly little peasants compared to what he's used to, right? Okay. Harvard Online Business School. If none of the things that I have said to you in terms of finance make any sense, I'd recommend their Finance Accounting 101. It's like $2,000. It's great. You run through it. It's very good. So you learn how to do a P&L, cash flow, balance sheet, all that kind of good stuff. Right. There's a great book called The CEO's Secret Weapon by Jane Jones. All that stuff that I said about my EA doing all that stuff for me, that's literally that system. So I read it. She read it. She's a way better EA than what I am as CEO, right? She's really experienced. She lives in Arizona. She's fantastic. And she taught me how to have an EA because I'd had them before and I'd kind of like shit the bed with them because it was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't like being told stuff. Yeah, exactly. So she's really good and she like super proactive and now she trains all of our EAs. If anybody actually needs an EA, totally, it's not like a business, but like she has a lot of friends who are EAs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. But like they're like $95,000 a year salary, W-2 with benefits, right? These are good, they're about 90, these are proper American employees that are very good at their job, 40s, 50s, like very, very experienced. Like, but she probably took 20 hours a week off my diary, right? Also like she'll just say no to meetings if people want them. She's like, no, just do a Loom, right? She's real angry about it. It's quite funny. All right, so one of the other things that really saved me time was a conflict of first approach. So every single 2 weeks we have what's called a constructive feedback meeting. So this has been a real game changer because like I'm very not afraid of conflict. Like it just doesn't bother me at all. And I was in the office one day. We have 2 offices, one in Sydney, one in Arizona. And my financial controller came up to me and she said, oh, such and such said this and really understood me. So I just went, okay. And I just went, hey, come here. And I was like, hey, this, fix, right? And I was like, oh, Jesus, all right. So then every single 2 weeks, we have what's called a constructive feedback session where I run it, right? So no one like talks without permission sort of thing, and there's an agenda for it, and it's all preordained, and it's all kind of good to go. It's a very specific way that it has to be done, and it just gets a conflict first approach because like nobody is screwing anyone around on purpose. It's just a mistake. So then it just goes, hey, this is really screwing me. Oh man, I didn't even know about that. Hey, let me get that fixed right now. Right, that, and then there's a summary handed out and action points, and then like done, right? That's a really, really good thing that we did. I wasn't taught it by anyone, but I was just like, I think we should do this. And then reports, I happily give these guys to you. These are the monthly reports that like all these departments have to give me. And then from there, this is why like I don't have to speak to people, right? So that they give me all those things. And then from there, what I do from there is I compile a monthly CEO report, and that's a combination of all the key points from there with a summary from me. And then that gets sent to the executives. Then I create a client letter, which is like also like marketing trend data from things that we see with all the sales reps. And then I also do like a one to staff. So everyone kind of knows what's going on. Anyway.
I don't even know any of this stuff, so I stay in my.
Jeremy's beautiful. Just as long as his hair is good, we're okay.
It's really good because if you're a person that's like that's bogged down in all this, you can't focus on creating new products and do where your
That's a really good partnership. That's
Yeah.
We all three have like
we all have our
different
own
talents that work really good.
Right. So if you guys want any of that stuff, I'll happily give it to you. I'll put it in the chat. It's all just Google Docs. Like it's nothing crazy. It's just like I hate not having stuff like that because it just kind of pisses me off. Also, like chances are I'll get hit by a bus at some stage. Somebody's gonna know how to do it. Also for that, sorry. At the end of each month, right? My forecast and actuals, and then all of the reports and the summaries and the WIP synopsis go into that like that month's like edified, codified. So if we ever exit, they will have a decision-making process, an actuals, a budget, a forecast, everything like marketing department, sales department, operations department, delivery department, you name it, right? All the things that happened for that particular month and that particular year, and then there's a quarterly summary. So I can then hand that over to the private equity or the Russell Brunsons of the world that buy bigger companies and go, here's all my decisions. Run it through ChatGPT, make a chatbot out of me. I don't know. Right? So like hopefully it should make it easier, right? Things that we've made mistakes on, I think is like bad partnerships, like misaligned values. I think a lot of the time partnerships go poorly not because like they're not good like business decisions, but because like the values are just somewhat like misaligned. And so that's like, I watched Bob Iger talk about Bob Iger's CEO of Disney, right? And I watched him like talk about when he was negotiating with Steve Jobs to acquire Pixar. And literally the only thing they talked about was, are the brand values and the cultural values of Pixar and Disney aligned enough to make a commitment? And that was it. It wasn't money or anything. Initially, I was quite slow to fire. It's not an issue anymore. Right? Like slow to fire, if I can make one recommendation, quick to fire, guys. Like if they're wrong, they're wrong. Like it's not personal. If someone gets fired as a surprise, like you've done a bad thing, but it should not be a surprise, right? Like that, like speed to fire is, I think.
How do you know when to fire? And
Are they good at their job?
That's it.
For real?
How
Are
many
they?
chances do you give them?
Like, I don't know, like 2?
Oh, okay, 2.
Well, I mean, like, hey, if I go, hey, do this thing, and then, because at the end of every single meeting, I say, do you understand that this is exactly what I say? Do you understand the tasks and the projects in which you've been given? Yes. Do you understand the intent behind the tasks and projects? Yes. Do you have the time required and the resources available to do those tasks and projects in the time frame of which I've requested? Yes. Do you have any questions at all? No? How are you? Is everything okay? Sweet. That's the end of every meeting. And if they say yes to all those things and they don't do it and they haven't told me prior as to why not, I don't know what we're doing here. That's why I said before, you can't judge a bad employee off a bad employer because most people are very bad employers. I was a terrible employer. I really took a good hard look at myself and was like, I think it's a me thing, so let me fix it, right? And people are way more important than money. Like just in general, like that's just my rule. Like that's like one of my iron fist things. Like we don't treat people as transactional. Like that's not okay. If someone's bad at their job, give them an opportunity to fix it. They're still bad at their job. Hey, this is not an opportunity for you, right? Also, if someone is gonna like be transparent with people, one of my best friends is the VP of Ops of my company. Like I'm talking battle buddy, snipers together, awesome dude, amazing, very talented. And he said, hey man, how do I be the CEO of this business? I said, you'd have to quit. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, dude, like, we're sort of growing together and like you're doing your thing, but like as this business grows and gets bigger and bigger, like I don't understand, like if we sort of get to 100 million, like it's just an echo chamber of like process and thought. It's like I would need to bring in an outsider who's done this before. So I was like, as much as I love you, I don't want to lose you. Like the truthful answer is like, you'll have to leave, become the VP of Ops of a much larger company, and then come back, right? Like that's just the truth. So now, does that mean that I lose him? I was like, hey buddy, if I lose you, I get it. Like, but like, you know, it doesn't mean there's not room for you to grow here and get more money because of bonus structures, etc. Maybe like equity incentive plans and ESOPs and that kind of stuff that we're going through at the moment. But like the reality is like, you're not going to be the CEO of this business, right? And so like, but I'm fine having that chat, like because it's done truthfully and like in reality. And so like, I think people understand it. And man, I've had a ton of those chats.
We have a big culture in a company that you get paid based on your skill level. If you don't have the skill level, then why would you deserve to get paid? Your skill level determines what you make.
I can actually break that down for you. So we have 3 tiers of every single one. So we have a very traditional corporate strategy: C-level, VP, director, and then coordinator, right? And then there's, so those are the roles, right? Like it's a triangle. So we need more coordinators than we do directors. Otherwise, like it's a nightmare. Like, what are we doing, right? And then from there, there's a pay scale, all right? It's a very traditional pay scale. I don't pay coaching, consulting wages. I refuse to. I'm not paying a 21-year-old $20,000 a month to be a COO, right? Fucking beat it, you little loser, right? So, like, it's just not like it's stupid, right? So like I have a pay scale, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. We budget for tier 3, which is the top tier, right? So, and there's about $1,000 a month difference. So like a VP will earn $8,000, $9,000, or $10,000 a month. Now that's base, not including bonuses, right? So a VP of sales will earn $10,000 a month, okay? Then from there he can be bonused. He'll probably end up making say like $250, something like that. Like if he's good, and they can anyway. But if he's like new, I'm not going to pay you 10. I'll pay you 8. But that means that like their direct manager can then do like an internal sort of like promotion from tier 3 to tier 2 to tier 3 because like they've done a good job. They don't have to ask for approval because it's all pre-budgeted. Anyway, that's super boring. Again, it's in the document if you'd like it, right?
Our CFO just got offered, what, CEO for?
Gallery. So our CFO was offered the CEO for Gallery. I didn't match it. Like it was an outrageous offer. I told him to take it. I was like, "This is a good offer, bro. You should take that." But I was like, "This is what I can do. Like I'm not Gallery."
What did he decide on?
He stayed. Yeah, we're pretty persuasive
He'll have
humans.
more upside with that, so he'll never
Yeah.
be able to-
Our churn rate and stuff, although this looks really like ironically, but our churn rate and stuff is non-existent. The main reason why is because if you go in a company, most of the times people get lost because they don't have a job responsibility, they don't have KPI. When me, I'm upfront. I tell you, this is your KPI, this is how long you got to do it. What does going to happen if you don't do it? So we got a pack, but I show you how to do it.
So anyway, that's kind of that. We in 2022 we took on way too much fixed cost things. I put in a director of one of the things. He, did some things, and then I had to come back and fix it. That was a really good lesson to have a division of the business go through a massive cash flow shortage. I've never been through that before. It was very interesting, very stressful, but I think it taught us an awful lot. Right? So that was definitely a mistake. We had way too many executives at one point where the org chart was like this instead of like this. Right? I'm sure we've all kind of done that. Just a bunch of executives doing buck all. Right? Right? Just thinking about doing stuff. You know what I mean? Like a business that does like $300K a month, and here's my CMO, my CFO, it's like, all right, guys, hey, right? No, just get a bunch of VAs. You'll probably make twice the money, right? Lack of networking. I suck at networking. Like, I love you all. I don't want to speak to you, right? So, no, I like speaking, but like I live in Australia, so does Marco. We just don't get out there very often. That's why we don't come to these. But like, I want to start doing more of them, but it's just like I just suck at it. Anyway. Right? I don't like it, let's put it that way, right? Recently, until very recently, we probably under-communicated as owners. We all had our lanes in our particular areas of, I'll say genius, right? But we got kind of stuck in our roles, and so like that kind of, I think we just got a little bit misaligned, and we just miscommunicated a little bit and weren't really there. So actually, first day here, we came in and we had a constructive feedback meeting with the 3 of us, right? It's about a 9-page document, right? And so that was really good. We kind of got realigned, got a chance to sit down for the first time, the 3 of us, for more than a day, ever.
Because every time we fly in the offices, like there's 100 people like wanting our time if we talk for 5 minutes, and then like, okay, see you in a week.
Yeah.
And so, like,
there's a lot of travel. Yeah. So it's been really good. It's been really productive.
No distractions.
Yeah. The next thing is we sort of suffer from having too many irons in the fire. I think that was a real big mistake because we had tons of opportunity, especially like when we were really growing Sales Sniper, because like there was one account we had a 22 times ROAS for 9 months. I mean, like I knew what I was doing with that business. You know what I mean? Like I was coming in and we were just miracling sales from everywhere because like we're good at making sales, like all that data stuff means we can just come up plans for everything, right? So we just have like these crazy sales plans because we have like unlimited access to salespeople. We can just make it happen, right? So like that was cool, but like what we did is like at the beginning of this year, I did the 80-20 rule. I literally fired 80% of the clients, kept 80% of the income, way happier. And that was a much better move. So that was a really good lesson. We did the same with media, and now we're just focusing on quality over quantity, right? Okay, so what's the 10X plan? Okay, any questions, queries, doubtful points on that? It's kind of like methodology of running a business, a little bit like more boring than what the other speakers have done, but I thought it was relevant. Okay, I appreciate it. All right, so I figured like, how do we get to $300 million a year? We're at about like 30, 35 million, whatever it is, right, a year. How do we 10X and go to $300 million a year by 2027, which sounds like a silly thing to say on the face of it. However, after thinking about it, maybe we can do it. So the first thing we need to do is prove that we can get a foothold in another language, right? We're not gonna do $300 million a year of what we do in the current iterations or even some variations thereof in one language. It's just not going to happen. There's not enough salespeople. I heard a sales trainer say they do $100 million a year, and I was like, no, you don't, right? I mean, hope they do. That'd be awesome, right? You know, rising tide lifts all boats type stuff, but like, I just doubt it just because I've done the numbers and like that seems very hard to me. So we need another language. The other thing we need is another foothold in another country. We do have Australia at the moment, which is working quite well, right? But we want another country that isn't like, because we have Canada, but it's like, you know, North America, right? You know, it's like, hey, we entered in 3 markets, guys, right? It's basically just 3 different types of the US, right? So what we want is we want a foothold in a different country, like, you know, France, something like that, right? We need to prove that we can monetize an ecosystem. We have not done that well. We have not done that well at all. We have not monetized our entire ecosystem. I'll go into the plan of how we do it. And then how do we do this without adding more burden to our fulfillment team? Because 4,500 people a month coming into like a buying ecosystem where like a good chunk of them are coaching clients is a nightmare.
That's just our B2C clients.
Right?
Yeah. We have company clients that might have like 3,000 clients.
Yeah.
You have a company client with 3,000 clients. Do you charge per?
We're talking, these are.
Well, that's one of the things I want to talk about
Yeah.
because I don't fucking know. We've done it 10 different
I'm
ways.
just curious to ask another question, but for you sell a company with 3,000 people. Is it a C license? Like each person, like 3,000?
So yes.
Up front.
So yes, we do seat licensing. We do a couple other things as well because like my concern is that like I don't like selling things that I'm not 100% sure will work. So like a lot of the time, like I'll like with those guys that you introduced us to, I said like if you don't do it the exact way that I present it to you, I don't care how much money you offer me, I will not do it. Like I said that in the first meeting, I was like, I don't care. Offer to triple it, it's not happening because like that's like it's like a reputational damage thing. Like NEPQ is the thing that like keeps us going, and so like we have to do things in ways, which means that like, and that's one of our struggles that I'm going to talk about. It's like how do we the positioning of that offer has been very difficult.
So we have to make sure, like with those bigger offers, that we can control the process and we can actually train their sales managers and all and their team leaders.
Yeah.
Because if they're just sign up their reps and there's no accountability for them to even go through the training, they're like, oh, it didn't work. Oh,
Yeah.
90% of people never walk.
There's also one more thing, and I just don't want to get too distracted because I actually want to get into the problem solving bit. Is that like if you bring a new script into a sales team, if it's the greatest script on the planet, there'll be an immediate drop in revenue, like immediate, just because the adaptation phase. So like we have to control the adaptation phase.
Cocky too, like get them like we're actually better salespeople to take my script. Like that's like the harder.
Yeah. So like you know.
How can you do that well?
Yeah. Okay. So guys, I'm gonna get licensing. We're gonna go crazy. Licensing plan, right? We want to license NEPQ. Like that's the plan. That's one of our plans to get bigger. Do the Tommy Hilfiger. Kick it out to one dude who's hopefully a total savage, just takes over the whole world, right?
It's what our biggest competitor in the world, Sandler Institute, did. They started in 1971, and they have all these franchises, like all these sales trainers, like all over the planet. They're the biggest, second biggest sales trainers in something like GTX. I'm not talking about like the car owners.
These are like 450 million, $500 million companies. Okay, so French is in progress. So we just got all the licensing. We have like a general counsel. That's another thing if you got a bit of money. Having an on-staff GC, awesome. Like having legal, like in-house legal is amazing. So that was awesome. Yeah. So we just had all of our licensing agreements. Like the first, we've done a couple of very little ones as tests. And so like we did like a guy who's like an inner circle client who was like really good, and we're like, hey, let's give you a license for this very particular niche that we can revoke at any time we want. He was cool with it. He's an ex-sniper dude, so I was like, let's just do cool things together. He was like, yeah, great. That was a good test. And we did another one. And then from there, this is our first big one where it's like a foothold in like another language in like another country. So we're getting, that's all been prepared. And right now, like we're going back and forth with them on that. But hopefully by maybe end of the year, maybe like the end of Q1 next year, because we got to translate everything, obviously, we'll have a full French everything and we'll be able to create like a French Jeremy or do some co-branding stuff. But I got a plan on how to do that a bit more clever, which I'll go through in a second. But you know, there's Spanish, there's whatever. The only thing is like, we sort of can't go into like more Asian languages. One of the reasons is is because inflection and tone are totally different Asian languages, and what we teach wouldn't translate.
Which is like a very advanced term.
Yeah, like if I say like, why is that important to you now though? You're only going to answer in terms of time frame. If I go, well, why is that important to you now though? You're only going to answer in terms of that, right? And I can do that with inflection, up, down, like whatever, right? So you can do all kinds of like linguistic wizardry to make things do stuff, but it's very Western based. However, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese are all that same thing, right? I speak Spanish, so anyway, and he speaks French and Italian, so.
We have a Wall Street Journal bestseller. Get a Barnes & Noble, thank you, it's a lunch bouquet. I gave you one, you're welcome. I hope you like it, anyways. So, you go to Barnes & Noble, get that, but like, the biggest publisher in Spain picked it up, the biggest publisher in Portugal picked it up, so it's getting Portuguese, Spanish is gonna go to Brazil, Mexico, and then Taiwan picked it up, the biggest publisher in Taiwan.
Crazy. Just wait. So that's like languages, right? And potential like there's language, industry, geography, essentially like location. Because like French, for example, French is in Belgium as well. So like we're doing France. We're not doing the French, right? We're not doing French speaking. That'd be maybe like a different add-on license that I could buy. But right now we're just trying to test, right? The other thing is industry. So insurance is active. Like I said, 7th level LFG. It's a good market penetration test for us. It's working. We started like 7 months ago. We have 125 agents. So like we can, but like we haven't opened the floodgates for a few reasons, but that's not important here. Solar is in progress, right? And I'll explain that in a second. And then like who knows what's next. So locations, France, Europe, Australia, UK. UK is a funny one because the marketing is so different, but okay. So then we have the 7th level foundation. This is like my baby, right? So this is a 501c3. It took me a year to set up. It's a full nightmare setting up a foundation. I'm sure if you guys have done it, but I was more intimately involved in it, hence why it was such a nightmare. But what we will do is mid 2024, we're securing locations at the moment. We will have the first completely free center. It'll be just outside the ghetto in New Jersey, right? To provide
Doors there for 2 years. It's my stealth area.
Yeah, right, cool. Yeah, so to be just outside the sort of rough areas, because we want to be able to be close, you know what I mean? And we're going to provide completely free, no ulterior motive, completely free sales, business, and financial education for like underprivileged youth, right? So that's cool. I'm really excited about it. One of our like very first sales guys, Rode, like he was a bit of a, ne'er-do-well back in the day, let's say, right? And he's in New Jersey, so he's helping us kind of negotiate it with a few different key stakeholders in the areas to make sure nothing bad happens. And then from there, like we'll have that as a center, and then the plan is to get a bunch of like corporate partners and then create like placement opportunities for those kids. So that, like, we figured like our mission is to change the way sales is perceived. So how do we do that? We get them before they become sales reps, but I will not do biz op sales. Like if anyone's going to go like, hey, do biz op sales and you do $3 million a month. Yeah, I know. I don't want to do it. It's stupid. It sucks. I hate it. Right? Yeah. Right. So like, I don't want to get a truck driver and convince him to be a salesperson. Right? I'll just make whoever does that, and then I'll get that person when they are a salesperson and they're struggling, like we'll make them better, right? So that's a way that we can enter into the market, and we can change it like at top of funnel, right? And we can get them before they're sales reps, make them awesome sales reps, and then from there we can get it out to the world that way. And it's totally like it's just a good thing, right? So how do we use the foundation within the business though? That becomes the lead-in for the foreign market, because what's the fastest way to get PR? Have a charity. So we set up the foundation. We then basically set up the license, and then from there we launch the foundation, right? At or before. I haven't quite figured out if I wait till it gets to 50, 100K a month to prove concept before I launch the foundation, then get all the PR, corporate partners, etc., and then get all the PR, and then that will give a whole bunch of trust into a marketplace that is distrustful, especially of us dirty salespeople, right? So that was my plan for the foundation. Does that make sense in terms of like the thing? Okay, cool. So license is signed in France. We're sort of figuring out a few things, but anyway, we got a few corporate partners. I've got a few that I'm talking to. I'd love to get more, but we're looking for basically PR, like a stage or an Instagram post or money, whatever people will give, we'll take it. We're doing all the grant process at the moment. It is a totally separate entity, as it has to be from 7th level. It's called 7th level foundation, but it sits completely separate outside the corporate structure. There's no affiliation, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how it has to work. There's a really cool Google grant too. I don't know if you guys know that, but you get $10,000 a month worth of free Google ads if you have a foundation, right? That you can like build a list for free, which is cool. Right? So it also helps to create impact in the market, which I think is cool, and it should help that brand grow much faster while also helping a bunch of kids. So like that seems like a cool thing, right? Yeah. Anyway, okay, cool. This is that sort of that monetization of the market that I was talking about. So if we have a look at insurance as an example, right, of which we've already done. So we have a black book of insurance. That's our lead-in product, it's our SLO. So let's get a bunch of insurance people in. Yeah, let's give them a black book bundle of insurance, right? Here's all the questions you have to ask. Then from there we have our insurance MIFKI, right? Insurance specific. Jeremy's a genius. He can just do that. Don't ask him how. No one else can do it, right? So then from there, we put him in 2.0, 3.0 inner circle. Every industry may not be all that stack. There may be like a checkbox where they get different stacks depending. We haven't decided yet because we haven't done a lot of it before. It's more of a plan, right? So then from there, it's like, what's the monetization model, right? How can we prove, like let's say I wanted to sell it, right? And I was like, how can I prove multiple market penetrations at once? And this is sort of the problem that we sat down and thought about, right? I was like, cool, so we can take them through this. Now we have 7th level LFG. So we have our own insurance agency of where we can actually funnel people into, and we can do that. So that proves kind of one thing, right? That proves that I can get people from a marketing funnel, sell them stuff, monetize them, put them into a business that I run, which is like an external business, but still in like the company group, right? And make money off them again forever. That is a cool thing to prove. The second cool thing, I was going to do the same thing in solar again. And I was like, why? Why would I do the same thing again when I can do something different that's far more difficult and unproven? Because I'm a brilliant person. So I was like, solar. I was like, we'll do the same thing with solar, but this time I'll be a recruitment agency for solar agents. I was like, do I want to be a recruitment agency? No. So I went and spoke to some solar companies, and I signed the first deal the other day where we will give them free recruitment, right? And just pass people straight through, but I will make money every time they make a sale because it costs me nothing to get them there. It's just like would you like a job? And we track that when they come in anyway, so we can just filter them by email and industry, right?
That makes our offer strong.
Yeah, it's like, go get a job. Now, we're not going to guarantee placement, but it's like, hey, there are people looking. They're right there if you want them, right? I have a couple of ideas around that, but they're not really fully formulated. I mean, they are on like a 27-page document, but like, I don't think they're very good, right? So I don't want to talk about them here because they're not very good, right? Then we've got Red, okay? Again, I can't figure out what Red would do. And then we have more like Institute, which is like more generic. Now, like, I think the recruiting side for that would be so good because like, that's where I love feedback because like we could smash it, but I don't want to do like placement because I think it sucks, right? So it's like, because there's so many things there, but we do have an idea as to partnering with some people that like could do it. Or do we like create like an exclusivity with a big recruitment company and then just like feed them tons of people in pools? Do we like buy a recruiting company and just do that? I don't know. If you guys have good ideas, we'll spitball them in a minute. Then from there, so scope, right? So scope is like the done for you sales, done for you marketing, all that kind of stuff. One of the things that we have done in the past is we've taken equity in companies, right? Do you guys remember that bad partnerships thing that I was talking about? That was that. All right. So, all right. So just misaligning the values and just sort of like, we have a tendency to kind of overdo it. Like me and Marco, like particularly get real excited about businesses and we start like vibrating at a weird level. And so we start to do too much, which is a really bad idea in this model. However, I think we're mature enough now to where like the fact that we have like, I can install a fairly competent executive program pretty quickly, and I can coach that stuff. Like I've done CEO coaching. I have no interest in doing it, but like I got a guy from like, 60 hours a week to 15 hours a week in like 4 weeks. And I was like, high five, dude, see you later, bye. Right? Just because you do that stuff. Like it's just not that difficult. Marco's great at marketing, and like you get Jeremy Miner right in your sales process. Like that's not a ton of effort from us, and we can probably triple, quadruple most companies fairly fast, right? So I was thinking like, if we could get like a $350 million portfolio size by 2027 with a 70 million cash flow based off like either profit share, consulting, or a combination of the two. I wouldn't go too crazy with the consulting because I don't like stranglehold the growth, but I think that we could definitely do that. We have this, which is cool. So like this is how we do it. This is our corporate strategy, right? For scope. We do this all internally, by the way. So that's what scope stands for: strategic, collaborative, open, people-centric, excellence in execution. Then from there, we kind of go through anyway. So we decode, diagnose, design, deliver, right? 4 Ds, sounded good anyway, right? So that's kind of what we do for the people. Just kind of decode the matrix and get to 70 million consolidated revenue and really, really focus on partnering with really, really good businesses. Then from there, help them capture, deliver, retain, and expand. And then looking at it in terms of like an internal rate of return instead of more external, right? So it's like, how can we initially gravitate towards businesses that are really leveraged with 7th level? So like, what if I had like a business that was crushing it with a really shitty sales team, right? And they were doing okay, like they were break even, right? So I could come in there pretty cheap, maybe just kind of wrangle my way in there and then go like, let me put a really good sales team in. And then we put a really good sales team in and all of a sudden we double the profit and we go, yay, right? Maybe we do a guaranteed exit. I don't know. There's some ways to do that, but I haven't really thought about it too much. This is what we were thinking: marketing, people, ops, capital, consulting, and sales. Like those are kind of things that we can do and that we have done in the past because of all the stuff that I talk about today. Also, I know a few dudes who can raise money. We've also done money raising for people in the past. Not something I really want to do, but we can definitely connect the dots, right? That's a branding guide and a corporate strategy. Marco does all that. Big up for Marco. He knows how to use Keynote. Yeah. Marco's getting his MBA at the moment. Okay, so areas that we like really sort of want to spitball on strategy, right? Hey guys, so I hope that you really enjoyed that video. I hope that you got something out of it. Let us know in the comments below if you want to see kind of more content like that. Obviously, that's a very specific type of content for a very specific type of person, but I hope it kind of goes to show you, I guess, how in depth I think we try to go, how professional I think we try to be as a company, and how planned we are. And that's really a reflection of how much we sort of really want to give to our staff and give to our clients. So if you guys like this kind of content, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that kind of good stuff, and we'll see you on the next video.